As industrialization and the demand for coal increased, better mining methods were needed. This increasing demand for coal led to greater technical advances in mechanized mining methods. Potentially the most productive and safest method of mining being used today is the longwall system. Longwall mining is relatively new to most American coal operators, in contrast to other major coal-producing countries which mine practically all their coal by this method. The longwall method is believed to have originated in England near the end of the 17th century and has since become the most widely accepted mining method there and throughout all Europe. Basic longwall mining equipment consists of either a planer or plow-type cutting machine that slices off the coal as it is pulled along the face, or a shearer-type cutter that travels along the face, cutting the coal as it goes. Coal cut by the shearer falls onto a mobile face conveyor called the pan line. Hydraulic chocks or shields support the roof and are individually advanced as the coal is cut. The longwall mining system differs from conventional mining in that the coal seam is
and 12-foot bunk. In the spring, river driving begins on the West Branch. Logs coming down the stream have collected on the boulders on the shore and are forming a wing, which, if not removed, will build across the stream and form a jam. Mr. Ed Connors, who is the boss, is one of the most efficient lumbermen in Maine. He can build a dam or build a camp. He's a good civil engineer, can lay out a practical logging road, and drive the logs. The water and the logs are making so much noise, conversation is difficult. So Mr. Connors is motioning to some of the men to come down to work on another place. I have taken this view to show how agile the river drivers are. The men have pick poles, and you see them running over the logs, shaking them so to keep them floating down with the current. We will now show you the shoes worn by the men on the drive, made by Bass of Wilton, Maine. The caulks enable the men to stay on the logs when they're slippery and make them able to do efficient work. The cook has helloed luncheon, and in a moment you will notice two men crossing on two logs. The fellow in the rear is Brown from East Machias, now a bellhop at the Falmouth Hotel, Portland. He said, "Mr. Ames, I came pretty near falling in, but he landed on shore all right." This scene is the men having their lunch. They have 4 lunches a day. A breakfast, 4 o'clock, first lunch, 9 o'clock, second lunch, 2 in the afternoon, and supper when they get in at night. First luncheon, they have canned beef, boiled ham, hard-boiled eggs, biscuit, donuts, cookies, and tea. Second lunch, they have tea, cookies, donuts, biscuit, and ham. This is Roll Dam Ledge. In the summertime, one can walk across this ledge with shoes. When the water is turned on to make a driving head, it spreads out on this ledge so the logs roll over. This is a beautiful sight and most interesting to see these logs rolling, tumbling, pounding all day long. The day after I took this view, a body of logs came down in the night and formed a wing on the opposite shore and had to be dynamited off. The next scene is taken a mile below, where young Morrison of Whitneyville and another fellow are tending this station to see that the logs don't form a jam. In 1879, when I first went up the Machias River, this section was heavily timbered with pine from 12 inches up on the stump. We now come to Tunnel Pitch. This is a small island, middle stream. About 18 years ago, a jam formed up over here, and Bert Tibbetts of Cherryfield was out there helping pick the jam. When the logs started, he fell in. He went down under the logs, and the crew all turned away from the sight, thinking that he was lost. There happened to be an opening in the logs about 12 feet across where the water boiled up through. Someone looked up and discovered Bert just as the water threw him up on the logs. He had one on Jonah. He came out all right. This is Maine River Camp, and the cooks serve their lunches cafeteria style. Note the 2 cooks. One is Al Smith, not of New York, but of Columbia Falls, and by his side is Billy Henscomb of Machias. Here's Gib Berry of Jacksonville. Mr. Connors is now leading the crew up on the jam. The man in the back part of the screen with a light shirt on is chopping the key log. If they're not able to start it by cutting the right log, they may have to use dynamite. This time the logs commence to move. The men are going to the shore where the logs pinch up, trying to keep the logs moving. The logs are 6 to 8 feet deep, in fact, down to the bottom of the river. You will note the spruce 20 feet long going end over end. The men on the